We are unpacking all things breakfast in this video. I'm Andrea Holwegner, registered dietitian for 25 years almost now. And over my career, I've had a chance to talk to people about breakfast and all of the different questions that come up. What should I have? When should I have it? And what about, what if you don't like breakfast? How to navigate that issue? And so in this video, I want to tackle all things breakfast and really introduce you to how to keep it super simple and fueled for your workday. So when we're thinking about breakfast ideas and how to think about planning a healthy meal, the first thing that we want to think about is components of a balanced meal have three things in here. So the first component we want to include in our breakfast is some sort of a grain or a starch. Second is some sort of a fruit or a vegetable. And third is some sort of a protein source. So I want to unpack why all of those components, and then we'll dive into some examples of how you can achieve that. So oftentimes there's a lot of confusion around carbohydrates in general. And people think sometimes maybe they should be taking carbohydrates out of their breakfast, but I'm going to encourage you to keep them and add them back in there. And that's because your brain runs on carbohydrates as its major energy source. So we get carbohydrates from those grains and starchy types of foods and our fruits and veggies. If you think of things like for breakfast, like your oatmeal or toast, breakfast cereal, maybe you have leftover rice or potatoes, those types of things. Those are going to give your brain some great sort of energy to get going for your day ahead. We know that grains and starchy types of foods also supply us with a tremendous, great source of B vitamins and fiber. And the type of vitamins, again, and fiber are different in those foods than what we find in vegetables or fruits. So we do kind of want to have both types of carbohydrates coming into our breakfast to get all the nutrition that we need. So again, we want that grain or starch as the first component. Second component of this balanced breakfast meal is that fruit or a vegetable. And if we're thinking about ideas there, fresh fruit, frozen berries can be cost-effective, great options when things aren't seasonal. It could be dried fruit, canned fruit, applesauce, vegetables of some sort, maybe leftover from dinner, or maybe going into an omelet or something like that, for example. Or maybe you're putting some healthy greens into your smoothie, like spinach or kale, or even leftover cauliflower can go right into your smoothie if you can believe it. Doesn't taste like much, but it blends up with all your fruit and tastes very delicious. So that's that second component. And what we know about fruits and vegetables is all of these plant-based foods are so good for long-term health. No surprise, people that eat the most fruits and vegetables have the lowest risk of chronic disease. So lots of protective components in there called phytonutrients or phytochemicals found in plant-based foods that you can't get in a supplement. You got to eat the real food in order for them to get into your body. So to give you an example, an orange has about 30 different phytonutrients in it. And so we want to eat an orange one day, maybe an apple the next day, blueberries. The more variety, the better. And one of the tips I like to get people thinking about is have as much variety as you humanly possibly can. Variety is really the spice of life. So eat all different types of fruits and veggies throughout your day and mix it up a lot. Don't eat the same thing all the time. That's the best way we can get all of those antioxidants and protective components to help our long-term health. So we want to get, again, grain or a starch. Second component was a fruit or a veggie in this breakfast. And hugely important, because the first two components that we talked about there are mostly carbohydrates. They're going to give us a quick burst of energy, but carbohydrates are digested quickly and they don't give us long staying power. And so we want to get a great source of protein into our breakfast because we've got a busy day ahead and we need that energy to last us. So when we combine our grains and our starchy foods, our fruits and veggies with a source of protein, the meal now lasts us 3, 4, or 5 hours, which is what we're after. Versus if you just had a little bit of fruit in the morning or you just had a slice of toast, it's only going to last us maybe an hour or two, and then we've got a lull in energy. So protein, hugely important for appetite control, blood sugar stabilization, and just contributing to that satiety and leveling in terms of our appetite. That's really important. Of course, protein is also really important to repair our muscle tissue for immune function. And typically, protein-rich foods supply us with all sorts of great additional types of vitamins and minerals. For example, iron being a really big one. So where do we get protein? Well, no surprise, things like your meats, poultries, seafoods, nuts, seeds, nut butters, peanut butters, eggs, tofu, legumes, lentils, chickpeas, beans in general, very, very good sources. Protein powders would be another one in there. Hemp heart's great for protein. But again, we want to pick something from that category that's going to give us that lasting power. And I just about forgot one important one for protein. Of course, dairy foods are really, really high. So your Greek yogurts, your skyr yogurts, cottage cheese, regular hard cheese, and even just regular milk, very, very good for protein. To give you an example, a cup of milk has about 8-9 grams of protein, whether we're talking about dairy milk or soy milk, whereas an egg has about 6 grams of protein. So dairy foods can supply lots of great protein. And then just to know, our almond milks, our oat milks, rice milks, very low in protein. So again, if we're planning a breakfast that had some cereal and we were going to put an almond milk or oat milk or something on top of it with some fruit, we've just got no protein in this breakfast. So if that's something that you're currently doing, what you're going to want to do is have a handful of nuts with it, or switch over your milk to either a soy milk or a regular dairy milk to jack that protein level up. Have a hard-boiled egg on the side, but pick something. Otherwise, that breakfast is just not going to last you if it's simply just cereal and oat milk, for example. So those are the 3 components. That's what we're after. You might wonder, well, how soon should I have breakfast when we're waking up? And I'm going to answer this question in a couple of different ways. The first question might be, if our number one goal is to work on energy and productivity for our upcoming busy day ahead, I'm going to tell you to eat breakfast ideally within about an hour or so of waking. That's when our brain needs that energy. We're thinking, we're concentrating, we're going into our day. We need to be creative and productive, have great focus and attention at school and at work. So in that case, if you can get breakfast in within about an hour or so of waking, I'm going to encourage you to do so because I do think it's the best solution for overall great energy. Now, if you're one of these people that say, Andrea, I really don't enjoy breakfast. It is just not my thing. I am not a morning person. It takes me a little while to get into the day. My goal for you is have breakfast at the first available time you can stomach something. And I'm willing to bet that is sometime between when you wake up and it's got to be before lunch. So it should be sometime in there when you're starting to say, okay, I can probably, approach something here. And the other thing I would say is don't have your coffee until you have your breakfast, because what that's going to do is it will allow natural levels of hunger to start to emerge. Because sometimes when we've got a cup of coffee or a strong black tea underway, that caffeine can kind of hinder our appetite sometimes and give us that false sense of energy versus true good energy that our brain and central nervous system need to feel productive. So again, in summary, within a first hour of waking is ideal, or the first available time I think I can kind of stomach something is when I want you to choose your breakfast. So a couple of ideas that work really well for myself and some of our clients and our dietitian team over here at Health Stand Nutrition, our team. I've got peanut butter overnight oats. If you've not tried this before, a PB&J overnight oats is very delicious. For those of you that like peanut butter, or an almond butter works great. So to make an overnight oats, all you're going to do is take a half a cup of rolled oats. You're going to put 3/4 of a cup of milk, a couple of spoons of some Greek yogurt would add a little more protein, or you could toss in a little protein powder or a sprinkle of hemp hearts if you're really trying to, again, add that lasting protein for staying power. And then you're going to let that, settle. And in the morning, just grab a spoon of peanut butter and dab that along the top, grab a little bit of jam, dab that in there. And then I'd put whatever kind of berries that you enjoy on top, whether they're thawed out frozen raspberries or fresh strawberries or whatever you've got in the house. That makes for a killer, delicious, balanced breakfast as one idea. The other idea I had here for you, for those of you that like oatmeal, is I want you to switch over to more of a protein-rich oatmeal. So if you're using just instant oats and you're stirring it up in a pot on your stove, instead of cooking it in water, I'm going to encourage you to cook it right in milk. So your dairy milk, soy milk will have great sources of protein and will also elevate some additional calcium in there for you. And if you don't like dairy milk or you have a lactose intolerance, then the other way you can do it, if you're cooking with an almond milk or oat milk, again, we want to put in some slivered almonds. We want to put in some hemp parts. We want to stir in Greek yogurt and make a creamier style yogurt, more of a lactose-free version, that is, can be an excellent way to top up protein in that person's oatmeal. And if you don't like any of those ideas and you're like, nope, I like my traditional regular oatmeal, I cook it in water, maybe you have a little fruit with it, then have an egg on the side or an egg or two just to get that protein in with that particular breakfast. The other thing you can do is, of course, on the weekend, do what I call freezer French toast. Make up a whole bunch of French toast, a whole bunch of pancakes, a whole bunch of crepes, pop them all into the freezer so they're ready to go, quick options for make and take breakfasts and quick thaws. And again, you're going to slice up some fresh fruit of some sort, thaw out some frozen berries, have a handful of dried fruit, whatever it is, get some fruit on the side of that breakfast. And if it is French toast, you can soak it in lots of egg to get that extra protein built in. And if you're doing something like pancakes, then again, I would choose a skyr yogurt or some cottage cheese on the side or some eggs on the side, or make a protein shake of something so that you've built into that really good protein choice on the side of your pancakes or French toast there. The other thing I'm going to encourage you to try is a recipe that is so simple that I'm just going to tell it to you and you can write it down and give this a go. It's cheesy baked eggs. All you need is 6 eggs, 1 cup of grated cheese. I like to use a strong aged cheddar for lots of good flavor. You're going to use 1 cup of cottage cheese and a 1/4 cup of flour. That's it. You're going to blend it all up in a blender or using a food processor, or you could just use a whisk. It'll just mean that your cottage cheese is going to be a little lumpier in there, whether you care about that or not. It still works great. And you're going to pour that into a baked glass baking dish. Pop that into the oven and bake it until done. And you can just cut it into squares. It works great as a nice make-ahead and very speedy and very delicious for a great extra protein. I'd probably serve that with a toast or maybe a muffin of some sort and some fruit, or maybe a side of, stir-fried veggies if you're like ready for a change in your breakfast. All of those would be good options. So I'm hoping this adds a little bit more breakfast creativity and some ideas. If you're looking for more information and more ideas for inspiration, head on over to my website. It's healthstandnutrition.com. We've got a great weekly newsletter we put out by our dietitian team that'll inspire you with healthy living tips, articles, videos, healthy recipes that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. So thanks for watching. And again, signing off here, it's Andrea Holwegner, better known as the chocolate-loving dietitian, but here to help support all things healthy eating. Thanks for watching.